Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We've got our first racer in the gate. Bib number 1, Lily Foss from Team Summit. Thanks for tuning in and joining us. It's Giant Slalom Day here at the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Rocky Central U14, U16 Showdown. Making some adjustments here, trying to get everything going. Welcome. Thanks for tuning in this morning. A cloudy, overcast morning here at Steamboat Resort on the all-out race trail. As Lily Foss sets the pace, makes her way onto the lower pitch. So Lily making her way to the finish. So Lily's going to set the pace. And across the line is Lily. We'll have times here momentarily. Blakely McCord, our next racer from Loveland. So make some adjustments up here. Here comes Blakely onto the lower pitch. Thanks for tuning in as we get ourselves organized here. We'll have results here momentarily. Just last minute adjustments as we are trying to get organized. All right, here comes our next racer on course. This is going to be bib number 3, Addison Fenig from Osblick. The Midwestern racer, Central Division for Osblick. See the finish.
Come on, Layla. Let's go, Layla.
Layla Fry, our next competitor, pushing out of the start. On tough break up top on the upper section for Layla as she goes out. Addison Fenig through the finish. So we have a course hold. There's Layla Bambour going out up top. We're on a course hold. Allow us to collect ourselves here, get organized. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Apologize for our delay in getting organized here. We'll be up and running momentarily with good full coverage for you. Lily Foss, our current leader in the finish. Good to see Lila making her way down to the bottom safely. Here comes Phoebe Snow Desitoff from the Taos Winter Sports Team on course. Phoebe had a good day yesterday, scoring all kinds of points in the national team duel in the evening, helping Austria to the team win. That was a great event for all of the competitors. Phoebe now looking strong on the upper section of the all-out race trail as we move to look for her on the bottom section. Phoebe Snow Desitoff from Taos onto the lower section now. Carving her turns nicely. Gas, no brakes. The word up here I'm hearing from the athletes as we look for Emily Charles. Here comes Emily. Right out of view, we'll look for her onto the lower section now. Emily from Team Summit. Phoebe with a 4th place finish. It's Lily Foss in the lead unofficially at the moment. as Emily Charles from Team Summit comes into view onto the lower section.
When you say 10 seconds, they go before that, so they have that time.
So Emily now on the lower section. Looking for speed. Across the finish she comes. As we look up the hill, here comes our next racer. This is bib number 7, Violet Gronendahl from Eldora. Just leaving the start, Savannah Thomas. Violet from Eldora onto the lower section now. She makes her way towards the finish into her tuck. Across the line goes Violet. Up top, it's our next competitor, Savannah Thomas from Ski and Snowboard Club Vail. Savannah now onto the lower section. Lily Foss still holding on to lead. Anacid Fenig in second right now. Blakely McCord currently in third as Paloma Stokold has just left the start gate. This is Savannah Thomas approaching the finish. Savannah will cross. Into third position for Thomas. Paloma Stokold now from Winter Park on the upper section of the course. As we look for her to make the break over onto the lower pitch. Paloma will be followed by Danielle Avila, her teammate from Winter Park. So here comes Paloma Stokold, the racer from the Winter Park Competition Center just down Highway 40. Paloma making some strong turns. We see her creating some nice angles as she approaches the finish into her tuck. And Stokold will cross the finish, her teammate now, Danielle Avila. Through the upper section, we look for her to come onto the lower pitch. Racer's carrying a lot of speed. Not much time to catch him on the upper section of the course. Skiing so well. As Paloma moves into sixth at the finish, here comes Danielle Avila. She's followed by Madison Carr, who has just left the starting gate up top. But right now we're watching Danielle Avila. Approaching the finish, she moves into her tuck. Here she comes to the line and across for Danielle into second position for Avila. Madison Carr now from Swiss Valley on course. As Madison skis across the middle flat section, we look for her now onto the lower pitch. She'll be followed by Lillian Ross, her teammate from Swiss Valley. Two Swiss Valley competitors in this competition, and they drew back-to-back numbers, keeping their coach busy. Great to see these skiers from the Midwest coming out to Colorado for this Rocky Central U16 Showdown, featuring some fantastic ski racing here from the Rocky Central competitors, the 18-state region that spans from Ohio to Arizona, as Madison crosses the finish. Up top, Lillian Ross, her teammate from Swiss Valley, although already across the flats and making her way towards the lower section. Madison Carr into 8th place at the finish. There's a race within the race here, U14s and U16s intermixed here in the standings. We'll try to keep track of the U14s and U16s. On course right now, Lillian is a U14 for Swiss Valley, so one of the younger racers in the field today. Maisie Martin has just left the start gate up top. We're watching Lillian Ross from Swiss Valley approaching the finish. And here comes Lillian to the line. Back up to the top, Maisie Martin from Winter Park. Lillian across with 11th fastest time overall. U14 racers skiing with the U16s in this event. Tough work for the young athlete as Maisie Martin now from Winter Park makes her way down the bottom part. Charlie Biglow has just left the starting gate. Charlie, the winner for the U14s yesterday in our non-elimination dual format. She'll be coming into view any moment already on the lower pitch as Maisie Martin makes her way towards the finish. Maisie Martin from Winter Park approaching the line. She's into her tuck and she crosses as Charlie Bigelow comes into view just up above her. Here comes Charlie, Steamboat's own. She races for the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club. Maisie into 12th position. Charlie Bigelow. Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club. Charging hard down in the lower section, trying to use her home hill knowledge to her advantage. Adelaide Brown, another fast one, has left the start gate. Here comes Charlie Bigelow. She's in her tuck, approaching the finish line. As we go to the top, try to catch Adelaide Brown for a couple turns. She's already across the flats. She'll be coming onto the lower pitch here any moment. That was a time for Charlie Bigelow, 7th overall, but it looks like our fastest U14 so far for Charlie. Adelaide Brown now on course. The Team Gilboa Racer trains at Highland Hills in Bloomington, Minnesota. Adelaide. One of the cool things about Highland Hills, it gives me Howelson Hill vibes there. A community ski hill, lots of energy, buzzing under the lights, and Adelaide Brown through the finish as Maggie Dwight leaves the start. Through the finish, Adelaide Brown, the fastest time so far, 52.82, setting the pace. A very good run for the Team Gilboa Racer as Maggie Dwight now from Eldora makes her way onto the lower section. Maggie racing for Eldora. She's a U16 racer. Good strong turns for the Eldora Racer, looking very good onto the lower pitch. This is the steepest part of the course that she's skiing through right now, and down goes Dwight. Losing her ski, a tough break for the Eldora Racer. Ava Silverman now on course up above. Ava from Taos. Ava, U14 racer. Taos has a good contingent of racers here in the U14, U16 Rocky Central Showdown. Great to see all of our friends from New Mexico coming up to Colorado to compete as Ava makes her way now onto the lower pitch. We see Maggie trying to put her equipment back on. Here comes Ava. Ava onto the lower pitch. Petra Schmidt getting ready to go up top as Ava Silverman makes her way to the finish. See Petra in the gate, looking down at the course, contemplating her run, smacking the poles as she reaches over the wand, and she is on course. Petra Schmidt from Eldora. Ava 14th down at the finish. As Petra Schmidt now from Eldora looks to put together a fast run. Her teammate Maggie Dwight skiing really well before she went out. Let's see if Petra can put it all the way through the finish. She's looking fast as she skis through the flats. Now we'll look for her onto the lower pitch. She'll be followed by Summer will be our next racer. Petra Schmidt from Eldora on the lower section. Looking good, carving nice round turns, a little bit wide of the gates, but staying pretty clean over her skis as Summer Rubidoux has just left the starting gate. Into the tuck goes Petra, and across for Petra Schmidt. And she's into 3rd position with a great run. Summer Rubidoux, another Eldora racer on course. Summer is a U14 ski racer. Summer looking strong up top. Great runs for the U14s and U16s racing together here on the all-out race slope at Steamboat Resort. Challenging conditions with the snow, flat light, difficult visibility for the racers, but you wouldn't know it watching this fantastic skiing with these racers here at the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Rocky Central U14, U16 Showdown. Summer Rubidoux from Eldora approaching the finish. Sophie Dentz has left the starting gate up top, skiing well. We'll switch over to her in a moment as Summer Rubidoux makes her way to the finish. And Summer across. Run for the U14 racer. Here comes Sophie Dintz from Team Breckenridge onto the lower. Sophie looking strong. As leaving the start, Riley Thompson, we hear the coaches cheer her on. This is Sophie Dintz from Team Breckenridge approaching the finish. Sophie, a top 10 finisher yesterday. As she goes to her tuck, Sophie approaching the line, and she will cross as Riley Thompson on the upper section, skiing through the flats and out of view momentarily. We'll switch to the bottom camera and look for Riley. Sophie crossing in 7th position overall. Riley Thompson, one to watch for, a Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club racer. Local girl, knows this hill well. Riley, a U16 racer. She's had herself a great season so far. Enjoying having this race on her home hill, skiing well. Here comes Riley Thompson, to the admiration of the home crowd as she crosses the line. Our next competitor, Lisa Walker from Steamboat, on course up above. 2 Steamboat racers running back to back. Lisa, a U14 competitor, trains under the tutelage of head coach Joe Paul. Riley Thompson across the finish in 3rd position, so a great run for Riley as Lisa Walker now onto the lower section, skiing strong. The U14 so far led by Charlie Bigelow, Lisa's teammate from Steamboat. Can Lisa pop one in there into the top 3 for the U14s? Lisa Walker approaching the finish. Rosie Neal has just left the starting gate. And here comes Liesl to the line as we catch a few turns of Rosie up top. Rosie racing for Team Summit. Through the flats, and we'll look for Rosie onto the pitch. Liesl Walker into 2nd position unofficially for the U14s. Well done, Liesl. It's Steamboat 1-2 in the U14 standings as Rosie Neal from Team Summit makes her way onto the lower pitch. Just leaving the start, Abigail Britton. We're watching Rosie Neal carving some nice turns, keeping the weight over the outside ski. Into her tuck comes Rosie, and to the line. Next out of the gate, up top, it's Abigail Britton from Eldora. Abigail, a U14 racer. Rosie crossing with a good time into 5th position for the Team Summit racer. Abigail Britton on the lower section, looking strong, skiing well. She comes into view now, the transition from flat to steep. This blue gate right here is the transition, and now over the roll, this is the steepest part of the course for Abigail. Skiing well on the lower section. She'll be followed by Natalie Strom, who's just left the starting gate, the Eldora racer, carving nice round turns down here on the lower part of the course. Into her tuck, Britton, skiing nicely. And across the line she goes. Our next racer, Natalie Strom, all the way already through the flats. We'll look for her onto the lower pitch. Here comes Natalie from Team Summit. Natalie, the U16 racer. Another strong performer. The skiing incredible out here from these U14 and U16 competitors is Natalie. Linking up nice turns. Good rhythm for Natalie Strom as she makes her way through that technical section on the lower pitch. It flattens out towards the finish line. Here comes Strom across. And a good run for Natalie. 8th fastest for the Team Summit racer. Alana Price will be our next competitor. Alana from Ski and Snowboard Club Vale. She's a U16 racer. Already through the flats onto the lower pitch. The nice bright orange helmet, perfect on a cloudy, snowy day here at Steamboat Resort, helps us follow her down. We see her looking ahead, creating nice angles in the body. You see the angulation at the knees and hips. Alana Price working hard to stay over the outside ski. Into her tuck. Alana Price, and across the line she goes. A good-looking run for the Vale racer. And that moves Price into 3rd position. A great run for Price. Spring D'Angelo from Telluride, a U14 racer on the upper section of the course, crossing the flat section that we call the beach. No beach today with these cloudy skies and snow falling. It's springtime in the Rockies. Weather can change in an instant. We had some warm weather followed by wind and cold, and then a perfect evening for the national team duels last night. Spring Low from Telluride. Skiing well down here, the U14 racer from Telluride. Caitlin Lemon from Team Summit has left the starting gate up top. She's already halfway across the flats. She'll be coming into view just behind Spring here any moment. As Spring crosses the finish, we look up the hill for Caitlin Lemon from Team Summit, the U16 racer. And for Spring, 25th overall. The U14 racer doing a good job competing with these older girls. Caitlin Lemon carving those turns down the pitch. Sophie Rinaldo has just left the starting gate up top. Here comes Caitlin into her tuck to the line. And Caitlin looked like she had a great run. Sophie Rinaldo on the upper section of the course, skiing well onto the flat. She goes. Caitlin into 8th position overall, so a good run for the Team Summit racer. 2-run combined time for today's race. We'll run the second run in reverse order from the first. So those competitors in the first half of the field for this run will be dealing with a bit more ruts, a bit more bumps, a little more challenge on the second run. Right now we're right about in the middle of the field. Rinaldo skiing well for Winter Park as she's into her tuck. To the line she comes. The Winter Park racer will cross the finish. Our next competitor, also from Winter Park, this is Farah Zierke. She's a U14 racer from the Winter Park Competition Center. Farah in that transition between our cameras. So we look for her to approach the lower pitch. Here she comes, Zierke. Pride of Winter Park in the U14 program, Margaret Owens. Another U14 racer has just left the start up top. Farah getting bounced a little bit low. That section, the camera doesn't do it justice. Very steep through these 4 or 5 turns. Now the hill will start to flatten just a bit for Farah, be a little bit more forgiving. Farah doing a nice job as she approaches the finish line. The cowbells are ringing. Farah Zierke across as Margaret Owens already through the flats, and she comes into view onto the lower pitch, the Ski and Snowboard Club Vail U14 racer. Charlie Bigelow, currently our unofficial U14 leader. Margaret Owens putting together a nice run. You see her shaping those turns, really coming across underneath the gates, getting the turn done above the gate is Owens as she looks to grab her tuck. That's a sign she's trying to ski as aggressively as she can. Margaret Owens into her tuck and to the finish she goes. Molly Alexander right behind her. Molly from Team Summit. Margaret through the finish into 22nd position overall. That's solidly within the top 10 of the U14s. Here comes Alexander from Team Summit onto the lower pitch. Just leaving the start gate, Avery Jacobson, but right now you're watching Molly Alexander. Molly running direct, really letting the skis run, getting bounced low, but carrying the speed well. This is a different tactical approach. I think it served her well. Molly Alexander to the finish. Avery Jacobson from Winter Park across the flats now. She makes the transition past the coaches. The hill starts to break over and get a little steeper. Here comes Avery onto the lower part. Molly into 16th. Overall, that's a top 3 or 4 thereabouts for the U14s. Well done for Molly Alexander. Avery Jacobson, a U16 competitor on the lower part of the course. Sonia Schaub will be right behind her, has just left the starting gate. Jacobson in her tuck to the finish as we go back to the top. Sonia Schaub from Ski and Snowboard Club Vail across the line. Avery 14th overall. That's officially top 10 at the moment for U16s. It's Sonia Schaub from Ski and Snowboard Club Vail onto the lower pitch. Sonia was in our top 10 yesterday in the duels. For the U16s, had herself a nice start to these Rocky Central U14, U16 Showdown event. It's going to be a great series. We're halfway through with the giant slalom races today. It'll be slalom racing tomorrow, and across the line comes Sonia Schaub as we watch Emily Tuohy on the upper section. See the speed coming off the skis as she crosses the flats. Emily Tuohy skiing well up top. Sonia through the finish with a good fast time, 6th overall unofficially for Sonia. As Emily Tuohy losing the outside ski just a little bit there, but you see creating the angles tight on the gates is Emily really charging, working off the tail of the ski a little bit, does Emily? You're in a little bit of trouble there as the hill's still pretty steep now. It flattens out towards the finish, and Emily approaches the finish line. Our next competitor, Bailey Hayes. Bailey from Eldora. Emily into 5th position down at the bottom. Well done for Emily. Bailey Hayes, a U16 from Eldora, now in that transition from the flats to the steeps. She'll come into view as the hill starts to break over again. Here comes Bailey. The colorful speed suit, the bright orange helmet, piercing through the dark gray skies here in Steamboat, Colorado. Bailey Hayes carving up some nice turns on the lower steep pitch. Very technical this section for Bailey. She's skied it well, tight on the gates as Bailey Hayes approaches the finish. Into her tuck goes Bailey and to the line as we go back to the top. Already June Scheid has crossed through the flats. We'll look for her at the top of the lower pitch. Here comes June. Bailey, 27th overall. June Scheid from the Durango Winter Sports Club does her training at Purgatory Resort, just outside of Durango. June really letting those skis run. Some great tradition of fast skiers from Durango, training at Purgatory. June, another one of those fine skiers. As Louisa Crump now on the upper section. Louisa from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club off the upper pitch onto the flats goes Louisa. Louisa, U14 racer with the Winter Sports Club. June finishing into 7th position. That's a testament to the great skiing from these racers and the great course conditions out here that these late runners are still putting in fast times. As Louisa Crump now onto the lower pitch, just leaving the start, Layla Fry from Winter Park. Louisa, a little wide on that blue gate. Again, the hill pretty steep in that section. The camera angle doesn't do it justice. Louisa doing a fine job through these turns. Final few turns as she approaches the finish. The U14 racer will cross. And Layla Fry just skiing through a couple gates and out of view on the upper section as we flip the camera. Onto the lower section she comes now. Here comes Layla from Winter Park. Louisa 28th overall. As Layla Fry, another U14 onto the lower section. She'll be followed by Ivy Billings, another U14 racer. But Layla looking good here for Team Winter Park. Charlie Biglow, our fastest U14 at the finish at the moment. Layla in and out of her tuck, charging hard. Here comes the Winter Park U14 to the finish. Ivy Billings on the upper section up top. Ivy from Telluride. Layla through the finish in 25th overall, solidly in the top 10 for U14s at the moment. Ivy Billings now onto the lower part of the course. The Telluride racer making strong turns in that transition. Now on this red gate, it gets steep. You see the skis get slid a little bit low. That's the evidence of how steep the hill gets in that section. Ivy's keeping it on course well, though. Good rhythm and flow to this course set. As Ivy goes to her tuck, approaching the finish. And she will cross our next competitor, Amelia Ulmer from Winter Park. Amelia, another U14 racer. Ivy into 25th position overall, another U14 skier into the top 10 for the U14s is Amelia Ulmer. Now onto the lower part of the course. Amelia, good solid turns down here on the lower section. She comes. Well done for Amelia. Our next competitor on course, Caitlin Gibb from Winter Park. As we look for Caitlin, she pops into view. Caitlin getting slid a little bit wide there. Amelia 34th overall. Caitlin The Team Winter Park racer. About 10 gates to go to the finish on that steep section on the lower part of the course. Looking good is Caitlin into her tuck early. Caitlin charging hard. Annika Bergen is on the upper section of the course. And across the line, it's Caitlin. Annika Bergen from 4 Degrees Ski Team, and already Annika is onto the lower section. She's a U16 racer. Getting pushed wide there, that steep section. That's the evidence of how steep it is there, catching Annika a little bit off guard. I think this might be her first time racing on this all-out race slope. But she's got it back on track now. Into her tuck goes Bergen and across the line. Our next racer is bib 44. This is Mackenzie Steensland. Racing for the Eldora Mountain Ski Club. Her tuck across the flats. Lower camera. Mackenzie, a U14 racer. Onto the lower section. Emery McLaughlin has just left the start up top. We're watching Mackenzie Steensland on the lower section of the course, U14 racer.
Excuse me. I can't see when you're standing. Makes me nervous.
Mackenzie approaching the bottom part into her tuck. Look at that aggressive move from Mackenzie. And she'll cross the line. Our next competitor right behind her, Emery McLaughlin, already onto the lower pitch from Durango Winter Sports Club. Southwestern Colorado skier. Emery with a nice light touch on her skis, just letting it flow like water down the hill. It's a fast way to ski. She keeps the skis clean. We don't see too much spray. As she carves those turns down to the pitch, into her tuck goes McLaughlin. Across the line, a good-looking run for the Durango skier. Kelsey McGuire now on the upper section. Kelsey from Eldora. As we look to the lower camera, Emery skiing into the 24th position. Here comes Kelsey, a U16 racer from Eldora. Just up the hill from Boulder, Colorado, the home training hill for the University of Colorado Buffaloes. Kelsey with the nice orange helmet. Skiing strong, the Eldora racer. Into her tuck goes McGuire. And across the line, up top, we pick up Ella Knaus. Ella from the Taos Winter Sports Team. Getting a little bit low there, gone to the flats. Ella, a U16 competitor from Taos. And here comes Ella onto the lower section. Just leaving the start, Paloma Gennari, Ella Knaus on the lower section of the course from Taos. Working hard to stay online, stay in the track. The cowbells are ringing. The Taos crowd is on point today, cheering their racers on. But up top, it looked like we had some problems experienced up there for Paloma. So we go to Zoe Jones pushing out of the start. Zoe from Team Winter Park. Tough break for Gennari. It did not finish. She'll get a second run, though. All racers will get to run the second run. We run reverse order of the first run. So not only will Paloma get to start that second run, she'll get a nice, clean course. But Zoe Jones right now is racing. Zoe from Winter Park. She's a U14 competitor. Looks like she skied the upper section well. Zoe Jones now onto the lower pitch. This section a little bit steeper.
I can't see the date.
Winter Park racer.
I don't want to mess up for your girl.
Doing well. Charging hard towards the finish. About 5 gates to go for Zoe Jones from Team Winter Park. Into her tuck goes Zoe. And across the line as our next racer gets ready to go. This is Taylor Feisner. The cowbells are no doubt getting warmed up at the bottom. For the Southwestern racer, Taylor. Zoe through the finish, 43rd overall. Taylor Feisner now on the upper section.
Yeah.
Taylor
Oh, sorry.
approaching the flats now. It, of course, flattens out.
101.
She crosses, now approaching the lower section. Feisner, the Durango Winter Sports Club racer, starting at the back of the pack on the first run with the random draw. She'll start at the front of the pack for the second run. We'll have a nice clean course. That'll be a lot of fun for Taylor. So a good run here for Taylor. You add it to the other run she'll have with a good clean course, and it could be a good attack from the back move for Feisner from Durango. She's skied well. She's handled the rough conditions excellently as she crosses the finish. And it's going to be Taylor Feisner, 22nd overall for the Durango Winter Sports Club racer. So that wraps up our first run of racing for the women. We're going to switch courses over for the men and get underway here in just a few moments with our men's racers. Congratulations to all of the women. Stay tuned with us. We'll be underway with the men in about 7 minutes. All right, we're underway. First racers on course. Alexander O'Hearn from Eldora is on course.
08. No, it's 208. 08. 553.
Our first look here at the men's course. We're on the other side of the trail. O'Hearn, the U16 racer from Eldora, setting the pace. Good looking run for Alexander. As he'll set the pace, Connick Pearl, our next racer on course. Connick on the upper section. He's from the Taos Winter Sports team. Alexander setting the pace, 46.32, and down goes Connick. Very steep to pretty flat, right where Connick went out. So a tough break for Connick. Our first DNF. Our next racer, it'll be Peter Menon. Peter in the start. Gets the countdown, the Colorado flag on his shoulder. Menon Sports Racer on course. Peter Menon onto the upper pitch. Let's see if Peter can have a little bit better success through this difficult transition right here. Very steep as he drops out of view. Now it flattens out quickly. The delay to help the racers carry speed onto the flats. Menon has done well. Into his tuck across the flats. And now as we passes that red gate onto the lower section, Menon has had a good run up top. Now the hill starts to get steeper again for Menon. This the steepest part of the lower pitch right now for the Menon Sports Racer. In the finish, the leader is Alexander O'Hearn. Here comes Peter Menon looking for a lead change. Into his tuck and across the line goes Peter. And it's going to be Keegan Austin, our next competitor out of the start. And Keegan having problems in that same section. It's a big fall away on the left. And out he goes. Keegan Austin is out. Peter Menon in second position down below. Finn Mulligan from Team Afton, our next competitor, getting ready to go up top. Finn. U16 racer out of Afton Alps. Be our next competitor. It's a tough spot down there. Right down there in that transition. It's the fall away left footer before the flats that looks like it's giving him problems as Finn Mulligan taps his poles over the wand. Looks down the hill, ready to go, banging his skis against the snow. Fired up for the Afton Alps racer. Beautiful little ski hill just on the border of Minnesota and Wisconsin. As Finn Mulligan from Afton Alps pushes out of the gate. Here comes Finn onto the upper part of the course. Finn Mulligan, good rhythm through these turns. The hill now falls away to the left. It's this gate right here that we can't see where it really falls away. Finn's gotten through it all right. A little bit late through the delay, but into his tuck across the flats for Finn. Now we look to the bottom section as he crosses over Coach's Knoll onto the lower part of the course for Mulligan. A U16 racer from Team Afton. Finn letting the skis run. I like the aggressive approach down on the lower section for Mulligan. Into his tuck. This is going to be a good time for the Team Afton racer as Henry Davis from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club takes over the top part of the course. Mulligan skiing into second with a 46.39, just off the pace. set by our first racer out of the gate, Alexander O'Hearn, but Henry Davis from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club, he knows the hill well. Henry, a U16 athlete, he's one to watch in today's event. Certainly going to be in contention. Henry Davis skiing strong on the lower pitch. Getting a little bit hung up there, just twisted and rotationally. He got hung up, had to pitch the skis sideways a bit to regain his balance. Henry Davis to the finish line, and he will cross. And Alexander Burke from Winter Park, our next competitor on the top part of the course. Davis, even with that mistake, moves into the lead by 0.4 of a second. And we've got another victim of that tricky turn on the transition from the pitch to the flat. Alexander Burke from Winter Park is out. Hadley, our next skier to go. Felix from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club. Felix will be one to watch. Smacking his skis against the snow. Looking with intensity down the slope as Felix Hadley pushes out of the gate and on course. The Steamboat racer looking to use that home hill knowledge to his advantage and lay down a super fast run here at these U.S. Ski and Snowboard Rocky Central U14, U16 Showdown races. Good skiing on the top. No problem for Hadley at all on that fall away left footer. He knows the tricks of this hill. He knows he's got to keep the weight over the outside ski, keep the shoulders and hips level. And Hadley now onto the lower part of the pitch, skiing strong. Now carving the turns nicely is Hadley dancing through these turns. Felix Hadley staying just off the gate so he can maintain good, clean pressure over his skis. Hadley into his tuck. It's been a good run. And Nathan Gregory pushes out of the start from Vail as Felix Hadley goes through the finish and he takes the lead by a full second. Oh, and down we've got another victim. Nathan Gregory in that same spot, crashing out. The word should be coming up from the coaches on the radio that is just a very important section. You cannot go too straight there. You cannot lean in. Perhaps there's some extra terrain or some bumps that are giving the athletes some problems, but Nathan Gregory, he's having himself a yard sale down there. All of his equipment out for anyone to claim as some course crew comes and helps him with his gear. Nathan Gregory, we saw it yesterday in the duel. Nathan Gregory, one that was always getting after it, putting it all on the line. He did it again here, and unfortunately it caught up with him. But I like the way this kid skis. He'll figure it out. He's young still.
Marcus of P9.
Our next competitor up top, Thatcher Starrett from Crested Butte. Crested Butte Mountain Sports Team competitor.
You were good. You were good. Just no further to the right. Come on, Thatcher.
Thatcher
I got a course clearance.
waiting to make sure that we're clear, and we are as we
With a 10 on next interval.
Come on, Thatcher.
saw Nathan skiing down the hill. Good to see Nathan skiing away fine from that difficult crash. Thatcher Starrett now. Crested Butte Mountain Sports Team reaches across the start wand, and on course comes Thatcher. So Thatcher no doubt has gotten the word about that tricky turn.
Again.
His tuck goes Thatcher. He's done well, but then coming out of the flats, Thatcher having some trouble. Maybe focused so much on nailing that duff turn that he lost the focus on the next couple gates. But he's back on track now. The Crested Butte racer looking strong. Onto the lower pitch he comes. And down to the finish. Leaving the start, it's Max Pardo. To the finish, it's Thatcher Starrett. And he crosses. It's Max Pardo on the upper section. Max, a U14 racer, had himself a day yesterday in the duels, finishing on the podium. Max Pardo charging hard, shaping those turns there on the flats. Thatcher across the finish, 49.46, his time into 6th position overall. Here comes Max Pardo, the U14 racer. He'll be one to watch. looking to set the pace for the U14s out here today. Just leaving the start, Ryder Lanning, Max Pardo approaching the finish. Max, a U14 racer from Team Winter Park, he's into his tuck, and across the line he goes. As Ryder Lanning makes his way, he's through the difficult part to transition from steep to flat. Ryder Lanning from Vale is one to watch up top. The U16 racer, Max Pardo, through the finish. He's 7th overall and the fastest U14 so far. Here comes Ryder Lanning onto the lower pitch. The Ski and Snowboard Club Vale racer's got ski racing in his genes. He's chasing his dad all over the race courses back in the day. His father Rory, a fast one, and Ryder's got some fast genes in his blood. To the finish he comes. Colin Canada, our next competitor, as Ryder Lanning across into the lead by 0.2 of a second. 44.73 is the new pace on the course today. Colin Canada with the big slip crew behind him, skiing well across the upper section and the flats. Now he'll make the transition on the breakover past Coach's Knoll into the lower section. Colin Canada, the Team Summit racer. Lining those gates up, arcing the ski across the hill. Into his tuck early goes Canada, not giving this bottom part of the course any respect. He knows he's got to be strong and fast if he wants to match the time of Ryder Lanning, and Canada through the finish. A good time, 46.71, moves the Team Summit racer into 6th position. Our next competitor will be Liam Cook. Liam racing for the Loveland Ski Club. Liam will have the benefit of a big slip coming down before his run. Help it get the course in fine shape. See that slip crew onto the lower part of the course right now. Thanks to all the racers that are helping support Liam, and all the racers behind him have a good track and a good course. The snow's still falling lightly here. The sky's very cloudy, the visibility tough for the competitors. Difficult to see the transitions and any bumps in the snow when the light's flat like this. So let the slippers get a little bit further down as Liam getting himself pumped up in the start. Probably one more interval, 40 seconds more, and then we'll see Liam take to the course with a nice clean track after the great work of our slip crew. All right, Liam pushing out of the start gate. Here comes Liam Cook from Loveland.
14 on course.
Liam, a U16 racer with the Loveland Ski Club. Oh, getting a little bit sideways there. He's got to be strong on this next turn. All right, he's good. A little bobble caught his attention before the gate that's been giving everybody a lot of problems. Liam now across the flats in his tuck. As he'll make the transition onto the lower pitch. Liam Cook, strong turns here on the lower pitch for the Loveland racer, staying tight to the poles as he charges his way down towards the finish. About 5 gates to go now for Liam. He's in his tuck. He's making his way to the line. Liam Cook will cross as Arnie Toland makes his way down the upper pitch. The Eldora racer through that difficult section into the delay that sets up the speed for the flats. Arnie goes to the tuck. Liam across with a 48.60. That's 8th fastest so far for Liam. As we watch the Eldora racer, Arnie Toland, onto the lower part of the course. Arnie, a U14 racer. Max Pardo, our current U14 leader, at the bottom. All right, now on course, it's Griffin, Green Machine, Wickstrom. Wickstrom, one to watch from Team Summit. He transitions now onto the lower pitch. Arnie Toland through the finish, and Arnie moves into the U14 lead. Down at the bottom, here's Griffin, Green Machine, Wickstrom from Team Summit. Very fitting that Griffin's sporting the green speed suit as he goes to his tuck across the finish line. And our next competitor, Arthur Wing from 4 Degrees Ski Racing in Minnesota, makes his way off the first pitch and onto the flats. Across it's Griffin, Green Machine, Wickstrom into 3rd position, just about 7/10 off the pace set by Ryder Lanning. So definitely in touch. It's going to be exciting on that second run as we've got some fast runs down already. Arthur Wing from 4 Degrees on course right now, the U16 racer. 4 Degrees racers, 4 ski areas in Minnesota where they train, gives them a variety of different slopes to practice on. That can be an advantage as he makes his way to the finish, and back to the top we look for Dylan Middledorf from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club. And Dylan smoking up here across the flats into his tuck. Dylan Middledorf, full gas, the foot firmly on the throttle as Dylan Middledorf makes his way onto the lower part of the course. He's looked fast up top. Ryder Lanning is going to be sweating it out in the leader's chair. Down at the bottom right now is Dylan Middledorf charging down the hill from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports. This is how ski racing works, ladies and gentlemen. The yellow helmet flying to the line, and Dylan Middledorf into 5th position, 46-21, a good run for the Steamboat racer. Here comes Hunter Wallen, the U14 racer. He's a fast one out of Ski and Snowboard Club Vail. Won the duels last night for the U14s. And he is carrying good speed as he makes the transition onto the lower section. Currently Arnie Toland, our U14 leader, in the finish. Hunter Wallen close behind is looking to set the new fastest pace for the U14s. Hunter Wallen to the finish, and he will cross as Griffin Brown from Team Gilboa leaves the start. It's a time for Wallen into the fastest spot for U14s. We're tightly packed for those top U14s with Hunter Wallen moving to the top spot. Griffin Brown from Team Gilboa, a U14 that might have something to say about that as he crosses now onto the lower pitch. Griffin, racer out of Highland Hills, Minnesota, the nephew of head U14 coach at Steamboat, Joe Paul. So Griffin getting some inside knowledge from his uncle, I'm sure, as he comes across the finish. Cameron Lowe on the upper section of the course. Cameron from Winter Park, another U14. Griffin Brown through the finish. He's right in the thick of it with the U14s. I believe 2nd at the moment for the U14s. Cameron Lowe now, another U14 making his way onto the lower pitch. The Winter Park racer looking solid. Some nice turns. Cameron Lowe, a little bit wide on those skates. Now he moves to the tuck. Cameron Lowe to the finish line from Team Winter Park. Our next racer is Sam Carlson from Team Summit. That slip crew must have done some good work on that tough red gate right before the flats, that transition where some of the earlier racers had problems. Sam Carlson and all the racers, all the recent racers, no problems in there. As the snow picks up, the visibility goes down. Sam Carlson from Team Summit, the U14, looking to race fast despite the inclement weather. It's ski racing. It's an outdoor sport. Have to deal with the environment. It's one of those tough days today. Hopefully we'll be racing in the sunshine for the slalom tomorrow. We'll see as Sam Carlson goes to his tuck. And across the finish, here comes Carly Burns. Carly Burns from Team Gilboa. A great contingent of racers from Team Gilboa out here on the slopes of Steamboat Resort and Howelson Hill for these Rocky Central Showdown races. Carly carving his way through those turns. Sam Carlson with a 53.65 to the finish down below. Carly burns into his tuck and he'll go across. Slade Ellers from Telluride. Now onto the lower part of, or the middle part of the course where it flattens out. Into his tuck goes Slade. The racer is a U14 from Telluride. Grabbing his bully across the flats. We look for him onto the lower pitch now. Logan Fisher getting ready to go up top. Slade Ellers from Telluride down on the lower section. You hear the crowd cheering for Logan as he pushes out of the start up above. Slade Ellers into his tuck at the finish. He will reach to the line, and it's a good run for Slade as Logan Fisher up top getting his ski caught and getting all twisted up and sideways. A snow snake or something grabbed it. Logan Fisher, frustration for the Winter Park racer. As Logan Fisher just got a bit twisted there. The ski got stuck. And unfortunately, it will be letters and not numbers for Logan Fisher. DNF did not finish for the Winter Park racer. Mason Katzfuss from Osblick will be our next competitor in the start. See the snow intensify. Look at that bottom camera, the snow falling heavily now over this all-out race slope, part of the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club Stevens Family Alpine venue in its 10th season. What a phenomenal venue this is. Hosted 3 times the NCAA championships. Last year they were here on this very date. As Mason Katzfuss pushes out. So these competitors skiing on the same slope as the NCAA best collegiate skiers in the world. Oh, and Mason Katzfuss having problems in that same section where Logan had some problems. All of a sudden, the snow snakes are back and the problems have reemerged. Sometimes Colin Arnold hoping that it doesn't come in threes today. The Team Summit racer getting ready to go in the start. As he awaits the start command, the start clock, giving him the countdown. Colin Arnold pushing out of the start. Here comes bib number 27, Colin Arnold, the U14 racer for Team Summit. Look at him level those shoulders, really put his weight out over the outside ski so he can be strong. That is how you get through a difficult section, ladies and gentlemen, and Colin Arnold has done well through the upper steep section. Now it's onto the flats for Arnold. We almost can barely see him as the snow continues to intensify. The Team Summit racer has done a good job up top. We switch to the bottom camera. Colin Arnold, the first racer to see the lower section in some time. He'll be doing a little bit of powder skiing down there, no doubt. As Jacob Humbert just pushing out of the gate up top, the Team Afton racer. He's going to be hot on Arnold's heels. A fast U16 following this U14 racer here. Great seeing the younger racers competing against the older ones. Colin Arnold from Team Summit across the line. And to the finish, it's Colin Arnold as Jacob Humbert now coming into view on the lower section. Jacob Humbert, all of a sudden we see a spray of snow and out is Humbert. Couldn't tell what happened right in that transition in there, but tough break for Humbert as Forrest Olson pushes out of the start. Forrest Olson, the U14 racer out of Telluride. Forrest Olson down on the first pitch. Skiing well. Forrest really charging hard despite the poor visibility and the challenge up here. Forrest getting a little bit low, but keeping it on course. I like the attitude, the aggressive skiing for the Telluride U14. This snowstorm's not going to intimidate Forrest.
Yeah, I think we're about 12 left, something like that.
Look at him putting the hammer down as he's on the lower pitch now. It's leaving the start. It's Colt Johnson, but Forrest Olson on the lower section. Charging hard, the U14 skier from Telluride crosses the finish. And we go to the top and we look for Colt Johnson from Team Afton there, or from 4 Degrees ski team. There's Colt. On to the lower part now for Colt. Colt, a U16 racer. Look at that snow come down. Colt tight to the gates. Skiing a direct line for the 4 Degrees racer from Minnesota. Oh, and into his tuck a little bit too early. And Colt Johnson going down. Tough break for the 4 Degrees racer. Up top, we've got our next competitor, Carter Hausman. Carter from Osblick. Making his way onto the lower part of the course. Carter Hausman onto the lower pitch. As we look for that lower camera. Carter Hausman coming down that lower pitch. To the finish line, Carter Hausman does cross into the 8th position, 46.46 the time for Carter Hausman. We put a slip on the race course as we get ready for our next competitor, which will be Parker Belts from Buck Hill.
In after this racer. Running 32 on the next interval.
Good to see up on his feet Colt Johnson down there at the finish. That was a tough break for Colt. That fall definitely was painful, but he's walking around down there at the finish. So that's good to see. Hopefully he can walk it off and get himself ready for that second run. He had a good run going down there before the trouble right before the finish, but now on the upper section it's Parker Belts.
32 on course.
Parker Belts from Buck Hill. Buck Hill Ski Area, small, iconic ski hill in Burnsville, Minnesota. Veritable factory of ski racers from the small slope. The rope tow right next to the training slope, taking the skiers back up the hill almost as fast as they came down it. And it really is a sight to see. Parker makes his way onto the lower section, into his tuck for Parker Belts. And he will cross the finish as we go back to the top. Charlie Maddox now from Snowy Range, our Wyoming ski racer on course. Snowy Range skier. We've had some Snowy Range skiers here in Steamboat before. The Marno family, Anna Marno, longtime U.S. ski team member, cut her teeth at Snowy Range before coming to Steamboat. Charlie Maddox from Snowy Range, skiing well down here on the lower part of the course. Charlie really gets after it, like how he races as he gets in his tuck and across the finish. Hogan Walker from Steamboat on the upper part of the course. Charlie 14th fastest at the finish, his time 49.18 is Hogan Walker in his tuck across the flats. Hogan, the U14 racer from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club. Passes the coaches at Coaches Knoll, and onto the lower section comes Hogan. We missed Hogan last night in the duels. Glad to see him out here racing today in the giant slalom on his home slope, the all-out race hill. Leaving the start, Keaton Foss, as Hogan Walker makes his way to the finish. Here comes Hogan to the line. As Keaton Foss on the upper section, he's through the flats now. Keaton Foss will be coming into view on the lower part of the course soon. Keaton, a U14 racer from Team Summit. Hogan, 36th fastest overall. 59.86 his time. Keaton Foss coming down toward the finish. Keaton Foss to the lower section of the course, and August Applequist leaving the start up top. Here comes Keaton approaching the finish. The Team Summit racer, August Applequist up top. The Winter Park racer is a fast one. He was on the podium yesterday in the duels. Already to the end of the flats. Keaton Foss to the finish, 55.31. A good time for the U14 racer, but this is one to watch. August Applequist, snow everywhere in your picture. As August Applequist flying down the hill, the snow falling hard, the visibility tough, but that doesn't stop August Applequist from charging down the slope. And Applequist will cross. Lucas Roseberry on the upper section now from Aspen as August crosses into the lead. 44.62 August Applequist by a tenth of a second into the lead, starting in the back of the pack. What a run for the Winter Park racer. Lucas Roseberry now coming across the flats. Lucas is a U14 racer out of Aspen. On the lower section now for Lucas. It's a great sign for the final racers to come. Speed can still be had. What a fine run for the Winter Park racer Applequist. As Roseberry now moves his way towards the lower section. Lucas Roseberry into his tuck. To the line he comes and across. Lucas Roseberry. Owen Knaus now on the upper section. Knaus from Taos. Onto the lower part now. We look for him on the lower camera. Roseberry, 25th. That's a solid time for the U14 racer of 53.95. So we watch the bright orange helmet cutting through the snowy skies here in Steamboat. The Taos racer, the cowbells ringing hard for Owen as he crosses the finish. Jonger, he's one that could battle for the top spot. He knows Applequist was fast, so Luke looking to put down a fast run from Team Afton. As Knaus crossed into 28th position overall, 57.60 his time. Here comes the Team Afton racer, looking to make something happen at the top part of the podium. Luke on course, Majonger from Afton Alps in Minnesota. Luke through that section that's caused some of the other fast racers some problems up top. They moved that top panel on us, so we lose him for a few gates there on the flats, but the Afton racer looks like he's skiing well across the flats onto the lower pitch for Luke. Here he comes onto the lower pitch. Luke's going to be charging hard. Snow conditions holding up really well here on the all-out slope. The slope crew doing a great job at Steamboat for the races today. Luke Majonger looking to take advantage from the back of the pack. The Team Afton racer's in his tuck, and across the line he goes. As we look to the time, and indeed a very fast time into third position, just 0.2 of a second back for Majonger. Anthony LaBelle now from Team Summit, our next racer. He's wearing bib number 40, the bright orange helmet, orange goggles, orange suit. Anthony's going to be fast, I can tell, with that kid out here today as he looks down the snowy slope. Awaiting the start command, Anthony LaBelle pushing out of the start. Here he comes, the Team Summit racer on course, a U14 racer looking to put down a fast charge. It's Hunter Wallen in the lead for the U14s at this point. Anthony LaBelle from Team Summit might have something to say about that. He's a strong racer from the Team Summit program. Into his tuck across the flats. Passing the coaches at Coaches Knoll and into view at the bottom. Now we see the bright orange helmet first. And then the orange Fuchsie Racing downhill suit. As he makes his way down the lower pitch, Anthony LaBelle from Summit charging hard, looking to get into one of those top spots for the U14s. These U14s racing strong with the U16s in the field today as well. Into his tuck, Anthony LaBelle doing a great job. He crosses the line with a time for LaBelle of 53.80, moving into the top 10 for those U14s. And that is going to wrap up the first run of giant slalom racing here at these Rocky Central U14, U16 Showdown races. What a great show in the first run for these competitors. As we are going to take a break, get ready for the second runs coming. The athletes will do an inspection before that second run. And we'll be underway with the second run in a little bit over an hour. So don't stray far. Thanks for watching here. These U.S. Ski and Snowboard Rocky Central U14, U16 Showdown Giant Slalom races.
The Winter Sports Club is amazing. It is multi-sports, and it's the only club in the entire country that has as many winter sports as we're able to provide.
I feel like when you ask our kids about their life in Steamboat, their first thing they'll say is, we grew up in the Winter Sports Club.
It's sort of like a second family for me.
The Winter Sports Club, I think, was my upbringing.
I think Hallison and the Winter Sports Club is one of the best places in the world.
It was almost another parent to me. We spent every opportunity we had down at the Winter Sports Club and enjoyed every minute of it.
Coming here after school and being with your friends and your coaches, it's just an awesome experience.
Almost every huge lesson or experience or great moment that has changed them has happened through the Winter Sports Club.
You know, their notion of creating champions on and off the mountain really resonates with me, and I just think it's an incredible opportunity for the boys to be part of that.
There you go.
Every coach that I've ever worked with, you know, here at Winter Sports Club or see coaches on hill with these kids, from skiing to cross country to jumping to snowboarding coaches, every single one of them brings a large amount of passion and dedication to this sport.
And the culture that they become a part of, again, changes them. And whether or not they're winning or whether or not they want to be an Olympian, they can be the best version of themselves.
We're so fortunate in this town to have so many amazing people help raise these kids.
There's something to be said about growing up in a competitive environment and having the mentors that the SSWSC provided. And you know, I certainly don't think that I would have grown up to be the person that I am today without their influence on my life.
It's so unique and so special, and having seen great places in the world, there's nothing like this.
Really, the Winter Sports Club is appropriate for all kids. Every single kid can benefit from the Winter Sports Club. The Winter Sports Club is amazing. It is multi-sports, and it's the only club in the entire country that has as many winter sports as we're able to provide.
I feel like when you ask our kids about their life in Steamboat, their first thing they'll say is, we grew up in the Winter Sports Club.
It's sort of like a second family for me.
The Winter Sports Club, I think, was my upbringing.
I think Hallison and the Winter Sports Club is one of the best places in the world.
It was almost another parent to me. We spent every opportunity we had down at the Winter Sports Club and enjoyed every minute of it.
Coming here after school and being with your friends and your coaches, it's just an awesome experience.
Almost every huge lesson or experience or great moment that has changed them has happened through the Winter Sports Club.
You know, their notion of creating champions on and off the mountain really resonates with me, and I just think it's an incredible opportunity for the boys to be part of that.
Every coach that I've ever worked with, you know, here at Winter Sports Club or see coaches on hill with these kids, from skiing to cross country to jumping to snowboarding coaches, every single one of them brings a large amount of passion and dedication to this sport.
And the culture that they become a part of, again, changes them. And whether or not they're winning or whether or not they want to be an Olympian, they can be the best version of themselves.
We're so fortunate in this town to have so many amazing people help raise these kids.
There's something to be said about growing up in a competitive environment and having the mentors that the SSWSC provided. And you know, I certainly don't think that I would have grown up to be the person that I am today without their influence on my life.
It's so unique and so special, and having seen great places in the world, there's nothing like this.
Really, the Winter Sports Club is appropriate for all kids. Every single kid can benefit from the Winter Sports Club.
All right, welcome back, everybody. We've got our forerunner in the start. Guys have lifted. They haven't cleared, but the clouds have lifted just a little bit. The snow is let up, and conditions improved a bit from what we saw for the men's race, where the snow was really coming down. The women getting a little bit of a break as our forerunner gets ready to go. Light's still pretty flat out there.
I missed it. Forerunner on course. I didn't get it.
So our forerunner on course. Forerunner checking everything out, getting timing and everybody organized.
No time for that one. I can only do so much.
Checking out the track. We've switched sides. The women are running down the skiers' left-hand side of the trail for this run. The men will run on the skiers' right. So a little different flavor between the two sides there. It'll be a good test for the women to run a little bit different course. So Taylor Feisner will be our first racer in the running reverse order here of the second, for the second run, reverse order of the first. Taylor Feisner in the start, and Taylor Feisner's on course. We are underway. The Durango Winter Sports Club racer will be looking to set the pace here in the second run on the new course. We saw this course, a similar course. The course has been redressed, so a few gates have been moved from the course we saw for the men. No problem for Taylor through that section that was causing the men problems up top as she makes her way now onto the lower section past the coach's knoll here, and onto the lower pitch comes Feisner, kicking things off from the Durango Winter Sports Club, racing out of Purgatory Ski Resort. Taylor looking good as she makes her way, setting the pace down here in the lower section. Getting bucked a little bit on that turn, but quickly back into it, into her tuck as she approaches the finish. And Zoe Jones now from Winter Park, our next racer. Taylor Feisner has set the pace. 52:24 the time for Taylor on the second run, setting the pace. Zoe Jones now from Winter Park. Zoe, a U14 racer. So Taylor started, she is a U16. Zoe's a U14. So Zoe will be looking to set the pace for the U14s to get things started out here. Bit rotated for Zoe, working hard to stay in balance, keep those skis moving down the hill. Here she goes. Now she's got the flow. Into her tuck comes Zoe Jones from Team Winter Park as she makes her way approaching the finish. And through the line comes Zoe Jones, and she will take the top spot at the moment for our U14s. Paloma Gennari, our next competitor from the Crested Butte Mountain Sports Team. Paloma waiting that start command, and here comes Paloma. Zoe with a 104.04, her time setting the pace for the U14s. Paloma from Crested Butte, she's a U14, went out on the first run. So looking to put together a really good show for everybody here on the second run as she flies across the flats down there. Now past the coaches onto the lower pitch goes Paloma. Just leaving the start up top is Ella Knaus. Paloma Gennari from Crested Butte, looking strong down here towards the finish. Let's get Paloma a finish. The cowbell's ringing for Paloma, and she crosses the line. As Ella Knaus now from Taos up on the upper section, crossing, passing the coaches there, coaches Knoll. Onto the lower pitch comes Ella. Paloma with a time of 56:40. So that's the fastest time for the U14 so far. Ella, a U16 from Taos. Onto the lower section. Kelsey McGuire has just left the start up top. She'll be followed by Emery McLaughlin. But Ella Knaus from Taos, and see those cowbells ringing. The Taos Mafia out here in full force. The crowd cheering her on as Kelsey McGuire from Eldora makes her way towards the end of the flats and onto the lower pitch. Ella Knaus into second place. Her second run time, a great time, 1 minute, .14. Here comes the Eldora racer, Kelsey McGuire, in the bright orange helmet, carving some nice turns down the lower pitch of the all-out race slope. Really like the angles that Kelsey creates through her turns here as she gets ready to approach the finish. Kelsey McGuire to the line as we go to Emery McLaughlin from the Durango Winter Sports Club up top. She's through that section that was causing the boys problems. No problem for Emery, the Durango racer, looking fast across the flats. Now she passes the coaches at Coaches Knoll, and onto the lower pitch comes McLaughlin. Kelsey from Eldora through with a 53.90 into second position for the U16s. Emery McLaughlin on the lower section of the course. Approaching the finish, Mackenzie Steensland has just left the starting gate. Here comes the Durango racer into her tuck, looking strong across the line. The cowbell's ringing for her as she crosses Emery into second position with a 53.53 on that second run. Puts her in second place for the U16 so far. Mackenzie Steensland from Eldora. On course, across the flats, in her tuck she goes. The transition, she prepares for that transition from steep to flat. We see her shaping those turns as she comes into the second camera view. The Eldora racer, a U14, as Annika Bergen has just left the starting gate up top. Steensland from Eldora on the lower section. Nice round turns here for Mackenzie. This lower pitch on the left side of the trail, not quite as steep as it was for the first run. Into her tuck, Mackenzie, and she crosses the line. Annika Bergen from Team Afton is on the upper section of the course, and Annika Bergen already to the lower section of the course. Here comes Annika, the 4 Degrees racer, having a fast run. She will be followed by Caitlin Gibb as Annika Bergen now from 4 Degrees. Can she move into the top spot for the U16s? Annika across the line, and she does move into the top spot. 50.01 her time on the second run. Annika Bergen, our current U16 race leader. Caitlin Gibb from Winter Park, the U14 racer, across the flats of the all-out race slope. Winter Park looking strong today as Caitlin now onto the lower pitch. Our U14 leader in the finish right now, Mackenzie Steensland, as Amelia Ulmer pushes out of the start up top. We're watching Caitlin Gibb from Winter Park on the lower section of the course. Caitlin, the U14, looking for a strong finish here as she approaches the line. Caitlin Gibb into her tuck, making the move to the finish line, and across she reaches. Amelia Ulmer from her Winter Park teammate up next. Gibb into the top spot for the U14s at the moment. Onto the lower pitch comes Amelia Ulmer, her teammate from Winter Park, also a U14. Just leaving the start is Ivy Billings from Telluride. Amelia Ulmer, the Winter Park racer, honing her skills on the Lower Hughes Race Trail, so all of these left footers will be no problem for Amelia. Look at her into her tuck as she makes her way down to the finish and across. It's going to be a time for Amelia, moving into second position for the U14s. And Ivy Billings, we get word up top, has had some problems, and it will be a did not finish for the Telluride racer. Tough break for Ivy Billings. She is a did not finish DNF for Billings. Layla Fry getting ready to go in the start. Layla, a Winter Park racer. Layla, 5th fastest in that first run for the U14s. All right, Layla Fry on course from Winter Park.
Got it.
The U14 racer is on course. Good clean skiing for Layla on the upper section. She's done well. We see the panels blowing around a little bit of wind picking up here in the late morning hours. On the all-out race slope, Layla now onto the lower section, looking good as she passes. Now the hill gets steeper right in here. Layla getting pushed a little bit wide, but partly because she's carrying so much speed. Layla Fry from Winter Park putting down a nice run. Layla Fry, the U14, she'd love to move into that top spot at the moment. She was 4th fastest after the first run for the U14s. Into her tuck and looking strong. Layla Fry across the line. And Layla moves into the lead for the U14s. Louisa Crump, now a U14 from Steamboat, on the upper section, passing the coach's knoll right now. Louisa skiing strong. Layla Fry setting the new pace to catch for these U14s. Louisa running a little bit low. Not really. Louisa making her way towards the bottom section. And into her tuck, the Steamboat racer across the line. Back up top, June Scheid now on course. June from the Durango Winter Sports Club. As the snow starts to pick up again here in Steamboat, June onto the lower section. June was 7th fastest for the U16s on the first run. Louisa has moved into 2nd position for the U14s down below. June, we've lost her on the lower section. She's there somewhere, hopefully still racing hard as we look to the clock to see what has happened. Bailey Hayes from Eldora now on the upper part of the course. It was a good finish for June Scheid into 1st place. At the moment for the U16s down below, we're trying to work on our camera down at the bottom part, so sorry for missing June's run down low. Bailey Hayes from Eldora now on course. Bailey looking strong, the U16 racer, passing coach's knoll onto the lower pitch. Here comes Bailey into view. We can see her with that bright orange helmet, colorful suit. Bailey Hayes looking strong. Emily Toey has just left the starting gate. As Bailey makes her way to the finish. Apologize for our bottom camera. Again, trying to make some adjustments down there. Emily Toey now from Telluride on the upper part.
The wind is picking up and shooting my little hat off.
So on to the lower part. It's Emily. Bailey finishing in 8th position. Don't worry about it. Emily looking strong on the lower section. Emily, the 5th and in the first run, looking to pick up a few spots. This should be a good run. Can she move into the lead? Currently held by June Scheid. And she crosses as Sonia Schaub on the upper section of the course. It's Emily moving into the lead down below. Emily Toey move a strong run into 1st place. Sonia Schaub now on course. Sonia from Ski and Snowboard Club Vail. Sonia was 8th fastest in the first run. See if Sonia can put together a strong second run, maybe move up into the top 5. Would be fantastic for the Vail racer. We see her skiing aggressively, looking to the tuck, tight on the poles. Sonia Schaub looking strong to the finish as she crosses Avery Jacobson on the upper section of the course, and we see the spray of snow. Don't know where Avery went down there. The left footer followaways might have caught her. Sonia Schaub through the finish into 2nd position, and indeed Avery Jacobson is out. Tough break for the Winter Park skier. So Sonia Schaub into 2nd position for the U16s. Emily Toey, our current leader. June Scheid sitting in 3rd for the U16s. Layla Fry, the fastest U14 so far. Louisa Crump currently in 2nd, and Caitlin Gibb currently in 3rd. But Molly Alexander, the fastest U14 in the first run, is getting ready to go up top. She is looking confident and strong as she awaits the course to be clear. And we've got word next interval. It's time for Molly Alexander. Looks good. It's about time to be the Molly Alexander show here on the slopes of Steamboat Springs. Molly Alexander on course, the Team Summit racer. Can she harness some of the speed shared by her Team Summit teammate Stanley Buzek, a two-time medalist now at the Junior World Championships out in Italy. Stanley in the team events, sporting 2 bronze medals. Molly Alexander, she's in the gold medal position after the first run for the U14s here today. Let's see what she can do here on the lower section. Good for the Team Summit racer as the snow picks up here at Steamboat, challenging the skiers' visibility, making conditions tougher, but Molly Alexander, challenge too big for her as she moves into her tuck. Molly Alexander to the line, and across she comes as Margaret Owens starts her run at the top of the course from Ski and Snowboard Club Vail. Molly Alexander moves into the top spot at the finish for the U14s. A great run for Molly. Margaret Owens, Ski Snowboard Club Vail, past the coaches and onto the lower pitch comes Margaret. Looking scheme for the U14 racer from Vail. She'd love to make a move up solidly into the top 10 for Owens. Carving her turns nicely into her tuck. An aggressive run for Margaret Owens as she crosses the line. Farah Zierke from Winter Park on the upper section makes the transition onto the flats. Can she maintain her speed across the flats as the wind picks up, blowing up the hill? We see Farah in her tuck trying to stay aerodynamic and cut through that wind and snow. Farah Zierke onto the lower section now. Margaret Owens skiing her way into the 3rd spot right now for the U14. So a good run from Margaret. She definitely picked up some good time from that first run. Farah Zierke looking strong, the Winter Park racer. Working the lower section of the course, Sophie Rinaldo has left the start gate up top. Here comes Farah Zierke through the finish. And up top, Sophie Rinaldo already skiing past the coaches and onto the lower pitch. The Winter Park racer, a U16, was 11th after the first run. Sophie Rinaldo looking to get into the top 10. Can the Winter Park skier make a move? It's strong. She's been solid all the way down. Rinaldo looking to carry the speed. Nice turn. She links up towards the finish as she grabs her tuck. And Sophie Rinaldo across the line. Caitlin Lemon getting ready to go up top. Caitlin Lemon now in the transition from steep to flat on the upper section, the Team Summit racer. And Caitlin passing the coaches onto the lower section. Sophie Rinaldo moving into 5th position at the moment for the U16s. See if that'll hold up and make for a top 10 finish for her. Caitlin Lemon wants to be in that mix. She was 12th fastest in the first run, so she will be one to watch. Just leaving the start, Spring D'Angelo, but here comes Caitlin Lemon. Good looking turns to the finish line as Spring D'Angelo from Telluride, the U14 racer, makes her way down the upper pitch. It's across the line for Caitlin Lemon into 5th position. So Caitlin Lemon picking up a spot, just nudging out Sophie Rinaldo, who went before her, as we watch Spring D'Angelo from Telluride make her way down the flat section there in the middle of the course. A brief reprieve before the course gets steeper. Now as we switch cameras to the lower camera, Spring D'Angelo looking to be strong over outside ski. See a little bit of snow spray there. Spring getting a little bit wider in her turns. This part of the course, very steep, very challenging. The Telluride skiers, though, no problem for steep pitches when you're from Telluride. They've got them all over the place. Such a great mountain to ski. Spring D'Angelo making her way now about 5 gates up from the finish. Behind her, it's Alana Price, a fast one to watch. And in fact, we're not even going to have time to switch the cameras as Alana already into view. Alana Price, 3rd fastest in that first run for the U16s. Can she pipe a run here and get into that top spot. Only 44 hundredths of a second back of the leader from the first run. So with a good run here, Alana Price could move into a great position. The bright orange helmet, a dead giveaway that it's Alana Price coming at us, and a good looking run for the skier from Vail as she moves into second position at the moment. So holding on to the lead is Emily Tuohy. Into second position was Alana Price. Natalie Strom from Team Summit now on course. And Natalie onto the lower section, the U16 racer. She was 15th in the first run. Looking to move up a few spots, maybe get into the medals for the top 10. Abigail Britton has just left the starting gate up above, but this is Natalie Strom making her way in or tuck to the finish line, and across the line, Natalie into 8th. Abigail Britton from Eldora. We see the snow intensifying again. Classic spring weather in Colorado. It's meteorological spring. As we flip the calendar to March. Snow, sun, rain, all possible on any given day. Today it's the frozen precip coming down as Abigail Britton makes her way, cutting through the snowfall, carving her turns down the lower pitch. The Eldora racer looking strong as she approaches the finish line. Rosie Neal has left the start up top. Across the finish she comes. Rosie Neal from Team Summit now on the upper section and already passing the coaches onto the lower part. Rosie was 9th fastest in that first run. Abigail skiing into 18th position at the finish at the moment. Here comes Rosie Neal from Team Summit. Lisa Walker will follow her on course. Comes Rosie Neal towards the finish. Good clean skiing for Rosie as she grabs her tuck and crosses the line. Lisa Walker from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club making her way down the upper pitch. Through that delay at the transition onto the flats, carrying good speed as Liesel. She was the 3rd fastest U14 in that first run as Rosie Neal crosses the finish line in 6th for the U16s at the moment. A good run for Rosie. Here comes Lisa Walker onto the lower pitch. She'll be followed by Riley Thompson, who has just left the starting gate. Lisa Walker on the lower section. Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club racer. Love to stay on that podium. Maybe even move up a couple spots to the top spot. Here comes Liesel to the finish line. She's in her tuck and across the line as we go back up to the top and look for Riley Thompson, who's also looking for a podium. How about a U16 podium for Riley, her Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club teammate. Riley 4th in the first run. Here comes Riley onto the lower pitch. Lisa Walker across the line and the bottom into 14th position for the overall. 2nd fastest U14 at the moment. Riley getting a little bit low. It's a scrappy run for Riley. Is she carrying the speed? Scrappy can be good if the speed is there. Riley is certainly charging hard as she makes her way to the finish. There comes Riley to the finish line. Sophie Dintz from Team Breck has left the start gate. Riley into 4th position at the moment as Sophie Dintz from Team Breckenridge makes her way off the upper pitch onto the flats. Really looks fast across the flats in her tuck, does Sophie. And now she skis past the coaches as we look to pick her up at the top of the second pitch. Sophie looking strong as she approaches the finish. Petra Schmidt getting ready to go and out of the start gate up top. Sophie into her tuck. Looking strong as she approaches the finish line. The Team Breckenridge racer will cross the line as we go back to the top and pick up Summer Rubido's run from Eldora. Sophie across in 11th position, just outside the top 10, but moving up a couple spots it looks like for Sophie. Summer Rubido from Eldora crossing the flats and onto the lower section. Summer, a U14 racer from Eldora. Just leaving the start gate is Petra Schmidt. Summer Rubido as the snow falls on the slopes of Steamboat Resort. Summer A shining light on the snowy day. Summer Rubidoux from Eldora across the finish. And Petra Schmidt now making her way down the upper pitch. Summer into 21st overall, a solid placing amongst the U14s. Petra Schmidt now in view on the lower section. Petra from Eldora was 6th fastest for the U16s in that first run. Ava Silverman has just left the starting gate, but here comes Petra Schmidt from Eldora towards the finish line, tight to those poles as she grabs her tuck and makes her way across. We go back to the top, and Ava Silverman from Taos, the U14 racer, coming off the upper pitch onto the lower flats. Petra Schmidt skiing into 5th position for the U16s at the finish. Taos Winter Sports Team racer just across the flats, passing the coaches and onto the lower pitch. Maggie Dwight pushing out of the start, our next racer. But carving some nice turns down here on the lower section. Good rhythm to this course set. Ava looking good into her tuck, and to the line she comes. Ava Silverman will cross. Our next racer, Maggie Dwight from Eldora, has made it across the flats. Onto the lower pitch she comes. Maggie, with an unfortunate fall in that first run, was skiing really, really well. Let's see her put it through the finish line this time. Unfortunately, in the snow, our lower camera has lost her. But she is still progressing down the course. Adelaide Brown now on course on the upper section. Team Gilboa racer. Adelaide is a fast one. She was, in fact, our fastest skier from the first run, Adelaide Brown. This run, she's got to deal with poor visibility, heavy snowfall, and a little bit rougher course running further back in the field with this start position. Let's see what she can do with it. Maggie Dwight with a 54.15, 17th fastest second run. Good to see Maggie get through the finish. Adelaide Brown from Team Gilboa carving some nice turns. Good direct line. She's smooth. She's clean. It looks fast. The Team Gilboa racer. Can she move into the top spot? Emily Toey's been holding it for a long time as Adelaide Brown moves across the finish. And Adelaide into 2nd position. What a fantastic run put down for Emily Tuohy from Telluride. Charlie Bigelow on course right now. Charlie from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club. Charlie was 2nd fastest for the U14s in that first run. Less than a half second off our leader, Molly Alexander. Molly had a good second run, so Charlie's going to need her absolute best skiing down here to overtake Molly for that top spot for the U14s. What she got down here, she makes her way to the finish. Looks good in that tuck. Strong turns to cross the line for Charlie as Maisie Martin from Winter Park makes her way down the upper pitch. Charlie Bigelow moves into 2nd position for the U14s. So Molly Alexander holding on to that U14 lead with her closest challenger coming in just behind her. Maisie Martin now a U16 racer from Winter Park onto the lower pitch. Just now leaving the start, Lillian Ross from Swiss Valley. Maisie Martin, got 8 gates to go as we see her carrying nice balance, the hands out in front, the upper body nice and quiet as she makes turns back and forth through those red and blue gates. Maisie Martin to the finish. And back up top, Lillian Ross from Swiss Valley, just finishing up the flat section as she will move her way to the lower part of the course. Snow falling heavily down there. Snow causing challenges with our camera down below. Madison Carr from Swiss Valley has left the start. And we'll flip back to the bottom. We've got her back in view. This is Lillian Ross. We'll go back to Madison Carr with the challenging weather, difficulty for our camera people, difficulty for all of our equipment. Really wet, really snowy here, spring storm, Colorado. wreaking havoc on things. Madison Carr from Swiss Valley on the lower section. Up top, we'll pick up Danielle Avila. Danielle, 10th fastest in the first run.
Kevin, wait, I'm having an issue entering the number.
Danielle skiing strong on this upper section. Oh, and it looks like some problems for Danielle right as she crosses the coach's knoll area. And Danielle Avila is out. Tough break for the Winter Park skier. Paloma Stokold will be our next racer from Winter Park. Couldn't tell what happened with Daniela. We just saw the spray of snow as she crossed out of view past the coaches before she got picked up by our lower camera. So a tough break for Danielle. Paloma Stokold now, our next racer, getting ready to go up top. Paloma clapping those poles over the start wand. Pushing out of the gate. Here comes Winter Park's Paloma Stokold. Getting launched out of the second gate, generating all kinds of speed right from the very get-go. Paloma Stokold really charging hard. A Winter Park racer, U16, 24th fastest in the first run. Looking to pick up a few spots here in this second run as the snow continues to fall. Visibility a challenge for the racers. It's been snowing an awful lot in Winter Park lately, so Paloma ought to be acclimated to it. As the Winter Park racer onto the lower section of the course. Skiing very nicely. Look at her move strong, trying to stay strong over the outside ski. You can really see her trying to edge those skis into the snow, maintain a clean carving path. Paloma Stokold into her tuck, and to the finish she goes. Our next racer, Savannah Thomas from Ski and Snowboard Club Vail, making her way down the upper pitch, fast across the flats for Savannah Thomas from Ski and Snowboard Club Vail. Now onto the lower pitch she goes. Savannah working hard. Good angles. The lower legs, see them matched up, both shins in the same angle, pressuring into the front of the boot. That's really fine skiing from Savannah Thomas as she makes her way to the finish. Violet Gronendahl from Eldora makes her way off the upper pitch and onto the flat. Savannah Thomas into 14th position. Violet Gronendahl from Eldora now passing Coach's Knoll as we continue to see the gates flapping, the wind picking up. Challenging conditions here for the racers. But Gronendahl looking strong. Just leaving the start, Emily Charles. But right now it's Violet Gronendahl in your camera view. Carving her last few turns, wrapping up the giant slalom racing for her here at this Rocky Central U16 Showdown. And Emily Charles now from Team Summit off the upper pitch and onto the flats, skiing nicely through that delay, carrying her speed across the flats. That delay sets the 8 racers up. A mistake there would be costly, but Emily, no problems for her as the Team Summit racer, U16 athlete, onto the lower pitch now. Gronendahl into 15th position at the finish.
Oh. Okay, how do I backspace? Sorry.
Emily Charles onto the lower section. Phoebe Snow Desitoff, our next racer on course up top. Here comes Phoebe from Taos. She's halfway through the flat section. Now as she passes that red gate, she comes into view on the second camera. The hill starts to get steeper again. Phoebe, a U14 racer from Taos. Really shined in the duels yesterday. Phoebe makes her way through the final few gates. Addison Fenig has just left the starting gate up top. Here comes Phoebe to the finish. And it's a good-looking run for the Taos racer, Addison Fenig from Osblick. Now on course. The upper section is about complete for her as she passes the coaches. It's been a fast start for Addison, a racer out of Wisconsin, skiing onto the lower section, looking nice with the green helmet. A colorful suit. Addison Fenig from Osblick, carving nicely down the lower pitch. And Addison Fenig into the tuck, and across the line she goes. It's going to be Fenig into 13th position for Osblick. A good run for her. Blakely McCord from Loveland, our next racer. We've got 2 left. As Blakely awaits her chance, the clock counts 10 seconds. Blakely puts her poles over the start wand, counts her down. Blakely, a good strong start, and the Loveland racer is on course. Blakely, 19th fastest in that first run. Comes Blakely clean through that delay. Now into her tuck on the flat. She's carried good speed off the pitch to the flats. That's critical for a good fast run. As she passes the coaches onto the lower section, she still looks good. Clean turns of the utmost importance down here. Now can she ski smart and strong down the pitch? The steepest part of the lower pitch is right here. Blakely making strong turns. You see her angling her body over that outside ski to help those skis carve cleanly through the snow. As Blakely McCord into her tuck, into the bottom section. Blakely across. And our final racer from the first in our giant slalom race today is Lily Foss. Blakely into 16th position. Lily from Team Summit. She was in second after the first run, just 33 hundredths of a second back. But Emily Tuohy has put together a really fast run here on the second. It's going to take a phenomenal effort from Lily Foss from Team Summit to move into that top spot. But Lily, a strong racer. If anybody can do it, she can. As the Team Summit racer pours herself down this upper pitch, trying to maintain speed down the fall line. Good and clean through that delay. She's quickly into her tuck there as she now speeds across the flat section down below. Lily Foss passing the coach's knoll. And she's onto the lower section now. Lily Foss looking strong. Emily Tuohy with that really fast run. Can she hold off one more competitor? One more to beat for Emily. Can Lily take the top spot? Emily at the finish, watching anxiously. Here comes Lily Foss into her tuck towards the line. Lily Foss reaches across, and she's going to move into 4th position. So Emily Tuohy, moving up from a 5th fastest first run, takes the top spot unofficially. Congratulations to the Telluride racer. Adelaide Brown unofficially in 2nd position, and Alana Price from Ski and Snowboard Club Vail moving into, holding on to the 3rd position. Those are unofficial top 3 for the U16s. For the U14s, unofficially, it's Molly Alexander with the top spot. Charlie Bigelow from Steamboat just behind in 2nd. And in 3rd place, unofficially for the U14s from Steamboat, Liesl Walker. That wraps up our first race, the women's race here at the U.S. Ski and Snowboard Rocky Central U14 U16 Showdown. Congratulations to all the female competitors. We'll be underway with the men here in about 5 minutes, so don't go far. That men's start scheduled for 12:30 Mountain Time. Oh, that's mine.
Yeah, sorry about that.
All right, we've got our forerunner in the gate, ready to get this men's race started. Izzy Kineski, our forerunner for the men's race.
Thank you, John.
All right, Anthony LaBelle, our first racer from Team Summit. He's a U14. He's our 8th fastest U14 after the first run. But Anthony gets a clean course. He was the last guy out of the start while it was snowing really hard this morning. Now he gets a clean course and the snow is let up just a little bit. So Anthony LaBelle on course, going to set the pace. Hope to find him in the finish and be our first leader down the course here in the second run for the men's race. Giant Slalom, Rocky Central, U14, U16, Showdown. Great racing we're being treated here to today. As Anthony LaBelle kicks things off onto the lower pitch he comes. They've switched sides. He's now on the looker's left side, steeper on this lower pitch. So it's a little flatter on the upper pitch, a little steeper on the lower pitch for the men this run compared to the first run as Anthony LaBelle makes his way towards the finish. Luke Majonger has just left the starting gate. Luke, one to watch for the U16 overall. All right, here comes Anthony through the finish and Luke Majonger at the top. And Anthony setting the lead, setting the pace for the U14s. He moves into the lead. Luke Majonger from Team Afton. Surely if he finishes, it's going to really throw down the gauntlet. Just 0.21 behind our first run leader, one August Applequist from Winter Park. So Luke Majonger, if he can set a really fast run here, it will make things really difficult for the rest of the field. Luke Majonger with a good clean course. He goes to the finish and across for Luke. And he will set the pace on this run. Good job for Luke. Getting things going. Luke Majonger into first place. As Owen Canals from Taos onto the lower flats. For him to break over the lower pitch. In just a moment, he'll be followed by Lucas Roseberry. Owen Canals, the U14 racer from Taos, just now leaving the start. Lucas Roseberry, a U14 from Aspen. Canals now with the bright orange helmet. Nice rhythm to his turns here on this lower section. The Taos racer losing his outside ski a little bit, but the cowbell's ringing for Owen as he crosses the line. Owen finished. Lucas Roseberry now from Aspen just finishing up on the flats. Roseberry from Aspen will be coming into view any moment. Owen Canals into third position down at the finish. Lucas Roseberry from Aspen now onto the lower pitch. Right here on this red gate, it gets really steep. 3 or 4 turns, super steep there for Roseberry. You see him levering over that outside ski, trying to maintain elevation, and that will allow him to carry momentum through the final few gates. Roseberry looking strong as he makes his way to the finish. August Applequist, our first run leader, is on course up above, already out of view on the upper section and onto the lower section. Here comes Applequist. Luke Majonger holds the lead in the finish as Roseberry moves into second for the U14s. Here comes August Applequist from Team Winter Park, your fastest skier from the first run, getting pushed There's Applequist, but he's skiing well. Good clean turns a little bit inside, but he maintains his balance. August Applequist to the line. Can he move into the top spot? As we look up the hill for our next racer, it's going to be Keaton Foss from Team Summit, and Applequist moves into the lead. August Applequist by just under a half second taking the lead. He was just a little bit faster on both runs from Luke Majonger, who had set the pace. So it's Applequist and Majonger in the top spots at the finish right now as Keaton Foss from Team Summit, a U14 racer, makes his way onto the lower pitch. He will be followed by Hogan Walker. And scratch that. It looks like he'll be followed by Charlie Maddox. Yes, Charlie Maddox, our next competitor out of the start gate from Snowy Range. Here comes Keaton Foss, the U14 from Team Summit, into his tuck. Good looking run for Keaton as he crosses the line. We go back up to the hill, look for the Snowy Range racer. There he is, the racer from Wyoming, Charlie Maddox, into the passing the coaches and on to the lower pitch. Keaton Foss skiing into third position right now for the U14s down there at the finish. Here comes Charlie Maddox, the U16 racer out of Snowy Range, Wyoming, just outside of Laramie. Parker Belts has just left the starting gate, our racer from Buck Hill, but right now it's Charlie Maddox doing a nice job into his tuck. Good clean skiing, parallel skis as he crosses the finish. Charlie Maddox into third for the U16s right now is Parker Belts from Buck Hill on course. Parker passing the coaches onto the lower knoll comes Parker. A great history and tradition of ski racing. The slopes of Buck Hill. I was there in December. Always a treat to be out at Buck Hill. Some of the special spots for ski racing, Buck Hill is one. Okay, into the finish line he comes. We go back to Carter Hausman up top. And Carter Hausman from Osblick on course. Carter crossing through the flats, the Osblick racer onto the lower pitch. We're hoping to get a good clean video run of Carter on this lower part this time. Here he comes, the Osblick racer, a strong skier. Parker Belts into fourth position as Carter Hausman now gets thrown sideways. That section's so steep right there for Carter. He's done well, made a good recovery to stay on course, but Carter Hausman getting a little bit low, and a low again for Hausman. Now he goes to the tuck. Now he's got things under control, and Carter Hausman from Osblick across the finish. Colt Johnson on course up above. Colt from the 4 Degrees ski team. Sorry, this is Forrest Olson. Forrest Olson on course up above. Colt with that crash in the first run is not starting here the second run. Hopefully we see him in the slalom. Forrest Olson now from Telluride onto the lower pitch. Oh no, in trouble somewhere right in there. I don't know where he had the problem, but we lost Forrest. He's a DNF. Jacob Humbert now from Team Afton on course. Carter Hausman skied into third position. As all the action continues fast and furious. Here comes Jacob Humbert from Team Afton across the flats. Looks like he's carrying good speed. A lot of strong Afton Alps ski racers here today. Always a strong program there in Afton. Tony Olin leading the program there as he has for a long, long time. Tony Olin, the coaching icon in the Central Division and in Region 1 and at Afton Alps. Jacob Humbert looking strong down here on the lower section. Humbert, a good, strong ski racer as he's in his tuck through the final few gates, and across the finish comes Humbert. Colin Arnold now on course. Colin, internet is coming back online. We apologize. Our internet went out up here, and Carly Burns making his way towards the finish. Hopefully we are back on track now. Carly Burns into his... Our apologies here. This is Sam Carlson on course. So the internet causing problems with our transfer of the racer who's on course and so forth, as well as our streaming, but we're going to do our best to try to keep up. Always something new here in the world of live streaming, but we're glad that you're joining us. We're going to do our best to keep you informed. This should be bib 21 on course right now. Cameron Lowe from Winter Park, the U14 racer. Here comes Cameron onto the lower section. Ready to leave the start is Griffin Brown. Here comes Cameron Lowe. Disregard the names that you see on the screen as our internet problems persist. We're in the dark here. Unfortunately, we don't have times without our internet. Our next racer on course, this is Griffin Brown now coming across the upper flats. Griffin looking good. Griffin racing for Team Gilboa as he passes the coaches onto the lower pitch. Here comes Griffin Brown, just leaving the start. Hunter Wallen, our top U14 racer, but you're approaching the finish. Brown as we go back to the top. Already across the flats is Wallen. In the start, Dylan Middledorf. And this is Hunter Wallen, our fastest U14 from the first run. Looks like he's put together another good run here in the second. And he crosses the line. Again, without the internet, I don't have times, but looked like a good run. Dylan Middledorf now on course from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club. Dylan had a good first run for those U16s. He's a Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club racer. As we look for him on the lower pitch, and we got a stop start somewhere in the middle there. Dylan, oh, there we see kind of some body parts moving around, and Dylan always racing at the razor's edge. See some up in the air, looks like he's putting skis back on. That's never a good sign. We like the skis on the snow. Dylan Middledorf, a tough break, and he is out. So next up, good to see Dylan on his feet though, collecting his equipment. So back off the course and we get ready for our next racer, Arthur Wing.
Resuming race with 1-7 on 9.
So next out of the start, we're going to have Arthur Wing from 4 Degrees. 4 Degrees ski team out of Minnesota. He claps his poles over the start wand, gets ready to go as the start clock gives him the countdown. Here comes Arthur Wing from 4 Degrees on course. Arthur Wing now onto the flats. Quick update, we've got a few times back. It looks like Carly Burns, in the midst of all the chaos, skied his way into 3rd position. Great job for the Team Gilboa racer. Hunter Wallen, really fast, skiing into that top spot for the U14s. Just leaving the start, Griffin Green Machine Wickstrom, but right now we're watching Arthur Wing make his way towards the finish line. Arthur, a 4 Degrees ski team racer, into his tuck, looking strong to the finish. Here comes Arthur across the line. Griffin Green Machine Wickstrom on the upper section. Griffin now passing the coaches at Coaches Knoll. Griffin 5th fastest in the first run, just under a second off the pace from our first run leader, August Applequist. Can Griffin put down a fast run. The visibility has improved, but down goes Wickstrom, an athletic recovery to get back in it, but that killed all of his speed. A tough break for Griffin Green Machine Wickstrom. Into his tuck. He was making it exciting there, but that was too costly of a mistake. Arnie Tolan now on course. He was the 4th fastest U14 in that first run. The Eldora racer having himself a strong morning. Can he put down another good run in the afternoon? I was just about to comment how visibility has improved since this morning's run. The snow has stopped. The sun's not out yet, but at least the clouds have lifted. And there's a little bit more visibility for these competitors. Liam Cook has just left the start as we watch Arnie Tolan turn into a big green screen. So we'll go back to the top and pick up the run of Liam Cook from the Loveland Ski Club. And I can tell you that across the finish, Arnie Tolan did get a good solid finish as Liam Cook now makes his way through the flats and onto the lower section. Arnie Toland with a good, strong finish. It looks like unofficially 4th for the U14s at the moment. It is now Liam Cook in view. Colin Canada has just left the starting gate. But Cook, the racer, now into his tuck, approaching the finish. And Liam Cook crosses as we watch up top the run of Colin Canada from Team Summit. Colin creating some strong angles, really good position at the gate. If you had a camera person at every turn, he'd be making some really nice pictures for you. Colin Canada from Team Summit. Ryder Lanning just pushing out of the start up top. Ryder, one of our potential skiers for the race lead as we go back to the top to pick up Ryder Canada through the finish. Ryder Lanning was 2nd in the first run, just 11 hundredths of a second back. This is going to be exciting as the lighting has improved. Canada with a great run into 3rd position at the moment. Here comes Ryder Lanning on the lower section. Can he pick up a spot and find the top stair of the podium? Ryder Lanning from Ski and Snowboard Club Vale. Max Pardo from Winter Park has just left the starting gate, but here comes Ryder Lanning to the finish. Max Pardo up top. There's the U14 racer from Winter Park as we look to the clock. Ryder Lanning skiing into 3rd place. We've got Applequist, Majonger, and Lanning, the top 3 for the U16s at the moment. As Max Pardo from Winter Park, the U14 racer, crosses past the coaches and into our lower camera view. Thatcher Starrett will be our next racer. Lower camera. Thatcher now on the upper section. The Crested Butte racer carrying good speed, really letting those skis run. Good skiing up top for the Crested Butte racer. As the snow returns again, we see it picking up in the upper camera view. Right now it's Felix Hadley in the start. Oh, we've got our bottom camera. We'll go back to the bottom camera for the run of Thatcher Starrett as Felix Hadley skis the upper section. This is Thatcher Starrett from Crested Butte into his tuck to the finish. Here comes Felix Hadley. Felix, another one of the skiers that has a shot at the top spot. 4th fastest in the first run, but just 0.3 of a second behind our leader, August Applequist, in the first run. Look at that snow fall on the lower section. Can Felix pierce through the snow and lay down the fastest second run of the day and potentially move up a few spots? Here comes the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club racer. Good strong turns on the lower pitch, throwing a little stivvy in there just to keep things moving down the hill. Felix Hadley looking good. Alexander Burke next out of the gate. Felix Hadley to the finish line as we look up at the upper section for Alex Burke, and Felix Hadley into third position. Moving up a spot is Hadley with a good second run. And now we look to the run of Alexander Burke from Team Winter Park. Burke, a U16 racer, looking for a strong run here. Alexander Burke onto the lower section now. Strong skier from Winter Park, creating nice shape, taking the turn deep. That was a really good rhythm section in rhythm for Burke. As he goes through the finish, up top it's Henry Davis from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club. Henry in 6th place after the first run, 1.3 seconds back. Can Henry make something special here on this second run? He knows the all-out race trail hill. This is his home hill. He trains here all week long. Henry Davis from the Steamboat Springs Winter Sports Club onto the bottom section. August Applequist with such a good run. He's been holding on to the lead for a long time. Can Henry Davis make a change at the top of the leaderboard? Finn Mulligan has just left the starting gate, but here comes Henry Davis to the finish line. Henry Davis across. As we go to Finn Mulligan from Team Afton. Finn was 9th after the first run, so he's a racer that's in touch. Finn racing for Team Afton. And Henry Davis skis into 5th position down at the bottom. A great run for the Steamboat racer. On to the lower section now. We're looking for Finn Mulligan. Here comes the Team Afton racer. Nice looking turns for Finn. Had a really nice first run. Can he put two together? A long slope for the Afton Alps racer. It's into his tuck. Then crosses the line. Peter Menon from Menon Sports on the upper section. Now into, as he passes that lower start house, the hill flattens out through this part. Peter's got to maintain his momentum. And now as he goes out of view on the upper camera, the hill starts to get steeper again, and the speeds will pick up. Peter Menon looking to be strong, balanced over the outside ski. Across the finish, Finn Mulligan moved into 10th position for those U16s. Camera continues to cause us problems down below with the internet challenges we've had. I'm happy that we've got it all. Crazy day here today in the live video world. But through the finish, it was Peter Menon into 11th place. So now there's 2 left. Connick Pearl will be our next racer from Taos, as he awaits the start clock to give him the command. Here he comes, claps the poles over the start one. Connick Pearl racing for the Taos Winter Sports Team, and Connick now on course. Connick, one of the victims of that upper section on the left, skier's left course. We went down right in this transition from steep to flat, but this time no problems for Connick Pearl. This side a little bit more forgiving in the transition there. Connick Pearl going to look to put down a solid run. There's a big fan club from Taos at the finish line cheering him on. Those cowbells will be ringing. Here comes Connick Pearl over the coach's knoll and onto the lower pitch. Connick, let's put it through the finish, buddy. Looking for a good finish for the Taos racer. Carving his turns nicely down the lower pitch. That was a really nice turn on that red gate up above. Connick Pearl, there are those cowbells, the Taos fans cheering him on. And across the line, he reaches to break the beam. Connick Pearl's got himself a finish. 24th fastest on that second run. We go back to the top. There's one racer left, Alexander O'Hearn from Eldora, and Alexander in 8th place after the first run. An opportunity for Alexander. Can he move up a few more spots? Here he comes, pushing out of the start. Alexander O'Hearn from Eldora onto the upper pitch. Comes Alexander. There's been some great skiing in the second run. Alexander's going to have to dig deep. But the good news for him is the visibility has continued to improve. So the chance is there for O'Hearn to maintain his top 10 position, perhaps move up a few more spots. The Eldora racer skiing nicely on the upper section as we look to the bottom camera. Alexander O'Hearn from Eldora onto the lower pitch. Carving nicer. This is the steepest part of the lower course. And Alexander has gotten through it. Few gates to the finish for Alexander O'Hearn as we look for a top 10 result perhaps for O'Hearn. As he reaches to the line, the Eldora racer crosses, and Alexander O'Hearn moves into 11th position, just outside the top 10 unofficially for the Eldora racer. Well, that wraps things up here for the men's race and our giant slalom races as a whole. It's been a great day of racing here in Steamboat Ski Resort. We really appreciate you joining us for these Rocky Central U16 Showdown races as we wrap things up for the giant slalom. We will be back tomorrow for slalom racing at Howelson Hill. Make sure you check us out on YouTube. Search Rocky Central U14 U16 Showdown. We'll be here. Hope to see you there tomorrow at Howelson Hill.